What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to just make a quick short video about something that's been on my mind for the past couple of weeks, something that I've been thinking about a lot, and share some of my ideas and my thoughts with you about art, making art, consuming art, and just what art really is all about and the importance of it. Art is something that I really appreciate both consuming and creating. I'm constantly listening to music. I love to watch movies, TV shows, frequent museums, basically absorb any kind of art that I can. And more recently, I've been trying to work on writing a little bit more, so expressing my own creation and relationship with art through words, so through fiction, poetry, journaling, nonfiction pieces, and the likes. And even more recently, I started listening to this audiobook by Rick Rubin called The Creative Act, A Way of Being. And this book has really started to get me thinking about just the process of making art, the importance of consuming art, and how art itself relates to the Christian faith. Everything I've done through this channel so far has kind of been through the lens of Christian faith, and I think that art, while it's not something specifically related to personal development, it still can play a pretty big role in our lives, and it can have a significant impact on us in the ways that we consume it and we create it. So I've really been trying to reflect on and dig deeper into how art can inform our walk with God, and also how our walk with God can inform the art that we consume and the art that we create. Now, I think just generally, the way that I see art and the way that I've heard other people talk about art, whether it's listening to music or watching TV shows or whatever it is, I've generally seen art as something that can either pull you away from your walk with God or spur you on and encourage you to walk closer with God. You can appreciate or listen to something or watch something that is tempting or glorifies a worldly point of view that might be contradicting to your walk with God and the way you want to live your life, however you see yourself doing that. Or it can do the flip side, which is encourage you along that path that you want to walk on. And I think to summarize this in two kind of key ways, the ways that I see art relates to us and how we perceive the world, is that art can either dramatize something or it can normalize something. Now, to give an example, this past summer I had the opportunity to visit Rome with two of my best friends, and while we were there, we got to experience a lot of historical art. We visited the Trevi Fountain, we went to Vatican City. We were actually able to go to some museums in Venice when we were there, and just all around the city, art was all around us. But the most impactful and impressive experience that I had while I was in Rome was visiting St. Peter's Basilica. And I have to say, even before going into the basilica itself, just seeing the immensity of the structure from the outside was enough to just blow my mind. My jaw was dropped the entire time that we were there. Just walking around, it was just an extremely impressive structure. And I think the thing that really spoke to me and stood out to me was how grand and majestic this building, that's basically all it is a building, just how amazing this building was. And the fact that this was built in like the 15 or 1600s in order to glorify God and to create a place of worship and a place for people to essentially praise God and come together in their faith. I found that pretty amazing that humans were able to put that much dedication, that much craftsmanship into something that then inspires people when they go to visit. And now, obviously, a building can't fully capture the greatness of God, how amazing it is to witness the presence of God. I mean, we literally could not even fathom or withstand what it would actually be to stand in the presence of God. And I know that this is like the perfect one-to-one representation, but just being there really made me consider how great God is, how magnificent He is through something that was built to somewhat represent it, to just kind of be a place that is somewhat of a physical manifestation of how great and the magnitude of what it means to walk with God. And I might be doing a poor job of representing this or articulating this, but to go back to those two key things that I mentioned, I think being there really dramatized my walk with God. It really made me consider how serious my walk with God is and how grand and important it was. Just being at a structure that was so grand and so important, that was dedicated to faith and walking with God. It's something that I've always thought about, the importance of my faith in my life, but being there and witnessing that giant work of art, that giant work of architecture, made it brought it to the forefront of my mind and made me think about it in a way that I never had before. And then the second part with normalizing, I really felt that the walk with God was obvious and normal when I was there. Apart from all the people that were in the basilica kneeling and praying and, being there because of their faith amongst all the tourists, just the idea that enough human beings cared enough about their faith to create a structure like that made it seem natural for me to also be serious and do the utmost of my ability in my pursuit of my walk with God. That's not the best way to articulate it, but essentially what I'm getting at is that I felt like it normalized that to me. Through witnessing this structure, I felt like it made it apparent and made it obvious for me to continue on the path that I want to continue on. So all of this might be a little over the top or dramatic, but basically the point that I'm getting at is with all of this reflection that I've been doing on art and how it relates to my walk with God, and then how that art I consume on the reverse side informs my walk with God, or how my walk with God informs the art that I consume, I really think it just boils down to consuming and creating art that does those two things, that dramatizes the walk with God and glorifies it and brings it to the forefront of mind and makes it seem important, although it's always important, and also normalizes it, making it seem just part of everyday life to walk with God and want to pursue the faith. And I also think that it's important that not all art that we consume or recreate might not necessarily be directly Christian, or it might not directly glorify God or exemplify some aspect of the faith, but even indirectly, I think there's a lot of examples in the Bible that show the value of craftsmanship and artistic ability, and just trying to represent beauty that God has created naturally in the world and resemble that with one's own hands. And I think that that's another thing that I want to do with all the art that I both create and consume, is to have some sort of appreciation for craftsmanship and for beauty, because I think indirectly that still glorifies God and resembles the walk that we have from Him, and the beauty that's inherent in that. And then on the flip side, I want to make sure that personally I'm doing all of this while avoiding things that might normalize or dramatize a lifestyle that I ultimately don't want to pursue. I think everyone's different in this, and this is not to say that whatever music you listen to or whatever TV shows you watch or whatever art you consume or whatever art you create makes you more or less of a bad person. But I think that when you have certain goals for the life you want to live and the walk that you want to have with God, you can consume things that can hinder that walk with God, and encourage a lifestyle, dramatize a lifestyle that is not beneficial, and it can normalize things that shouldn't be normalized and things that should be avoided. So I think all of this applies to the reverse side when trying to be mindful about what it is that you both create and consume. But overall, and this is really just a loose brain dump that I wanted to share with you all today, I think that art is a good thing. It is something to be appreciated and be grateful for. Um, and above all of that, I think it's important to recognize that art is powerful, that it can change your mood, it can cause you to laugh, it can cause you to cry, it can put a smile on your face, it can change your perspective, it can make you see the world in a completely different way. And that's something that shouldn't be taken lightly. So I think we're consuming art all around us all of the time. So just generally, I think it's important to be mindful of that and to always think of what's being dramatized or what's being normalized by the art that you're consuming, and whether or not it's in alignment with what God would want for you, what's beneficial to your walk with God, and then proceeding and making the right decisions and setting intentions based off of that. And that's really all of my thoughts today. Thank you guys for watching another video, and I will see you all next week.